But first, we begin tonight in Toronto, where a judge has found the van attack killer guilty of murder on all counts. In 2018, the 28-year-old purposely plowed a van into pedestrians on a busy sidewalk in the city, killing 10 people and injuring 16 others. Farah Morali now with what happened in court today and reaction from some of the victims' loved ones.
Ginella, it's been an emotional day for everybody in this community of Yonge and Finch, from the people who lost family members in this attack to the people who were injured, and for this community as a whole. A judge has found the accused guilty, but she wouldn't even say his name as she read her verdict. She said that he sought fame and notoriety from this attack, and she didn't want to give it to him. Instead, she focused on the victims.
It's been nearly 3 years, but the images and the aftermath of the deadly attack are still fresh in so many minds.
Jin Hoon Kim, So Hee Chung.
One by one, the names of those who were killed that day were read aloud as victims and their families stood side by side outside the courthouse. Today, Alec Minassian, the man who deliberately drove a van down a Yonge Street sidewalk, killing 10 people and injuring 16 others, was found guilty.
It's like you're holding your breath for 3 years and you can finally breathe.
Today, relief from family members of those who died.
I don't really know how else to explain it. We get a chance to kind of continue a life, finding our new normal and kind of being and living that again.
At the heart of this case is not whether the accused actually committed the attack. He's long admitted to it, even saying he planned it out weeks in advance. What the judge had to decide was whether or not in that moment he understood that what he was doing was morally wrong.
The accused's lawyer tried to argue because of his autism spectrum disorder, he was incapable of that. The judge rejected that claim today, saying this was the exercise of a free will by a rational brain capable of choosing between right and wrong. He freely chose the option that was morally wrong, knowing what the consequences would be for himself and for everybody else.
I'm hoping that someday he'll be able to begin to understand what he did.
Catherine Riddell was hit that day while out for a walk. She was hospitalized for 2 months with a fractured spine, pelvis, and other injuries.
Hopefully one day I'll be able to shed this walker and be back to where I was before all this happened.
While the attack changed the lives of victims and their families, it's also left a lasting impact on the community.
The memories come back, the emotions come back. I think everyone right now is bracing themselves, at least as faith leader, we're bracing ourselves for many people to be talking about it and wanting and needing to share and kind of come back together and remember together.
The case is set to return to court on March 18th. That's when we expect a sentencing hearing date will be set. As you can imagine, there will be many victim impact statements. And we're hearing tonight that the community here in Yonge and Finch are also pushing to submit their own victim impact statement. Ginella.
Thanks, Farah. That's Farah Morali in Toronto, and I'm joined now by one of the people who witnessed that horrific tragedy 3 years ago, a day he says he'll never forget. Rob Greco was driving on his way to work when the attack began, and he stayed with one of the victims, Anne D'Amico, in her last moments. Rob, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us on what I imagine is an incredibly difficult day for you. We heard there in that story the defense was trying to go for not criminally responsible ruling. How did it feel to hear that guilty verdict today?
Well, to be honest with you, the verdict really didn't make a difference to me because it could never change the outcome of what's happened and how so many lives have been affected, including mine. My new normal is taking pills every morning just to keep me level. I heard what Nick D'Amico said, that they feel like they could breathe again, but I personally believe that that's probably temporary, and maybe it was the right thing to say at that moment, but how do you breathe normally again when your daughter was murdered by someone?
Yeah, and you were there with Nick's sister, Anne Marie, in her final moments. You've talked very openly about the PTSD that you have experienced in the years after this event. How has your life been impacted and forever altered by that event?
Well, I have been diagnosed with PTSD. I was diagnosed a long time ago, and it was time to go on the medication to keep me level. They increased the dosage when the first dosage wasn't working, and I've been on the highest dosage ever since. I've tried to come off it a few times, but I can't. I just can't do it. After a couple days, I start crying uncontrollably. Everything sets me off. So this is my new normal, and living with PTSD is going to be what it is. Again, like I said, I have no, I feel no anger toward John Doe. It's really strange to me that I don't, but it's a sad day, and I understand that a lot of people were waiting for this day to come and maybe sighed a breath of relief hearing that he was guilty. But in all honesty, the way I see it is, here's another family that's now destroyed because of what their son chose to do. So a mother and a father are now also mourning the loss of their child.
I heard you just refer to him there as John Doe, as the judge did in her ruling. She chose not to use the accused name, essentially saying he wanted notoriety and she didn't want to give it to him. What did you make of that decision?
I agree with her. I agree with that. I mean, unfortunately, to me, he is a nobody. He's just someone that carried out a vicious attack on innocent people and destroyed countless number of lives along the way. Not only the people that passed away that day, people whose lives have been altered for the rest of their lives, people like me who witnessed it, who will never forget what happened. That day lives in my brain every day. Remembering April 23rd, 2018 is normal for me. And remembering the building number, 5061 Yonge Street, it's normal. And me dialing 911 at 1:13 p.m. and being on that phone with the operator for 13 minutes until paramedics arrived to where I was. I'm just holding on to Anne Marie D'Amico and trying to reassure her that she was going to be okay. Unfortunately, that's not how it worked out.
You know, in today's decision, the judge took time to acknowledge people like you who were there that day. You know, she said that you are the true hero of the day. What does it make you feel when you hear that?
I really don't. I don't feel like I'm a hero at all. If I was able to save her life, maybe I'd consider accepting the term being a hero, but I wasn't able to. I wish I was able to. I wish I was able to do something different that day to help her. But all I could do was hold her hand and to tell her that she was going to be fine and to just lay still and that help was on the way. And I mean, I even took the time to tell her how beautiful she was. And that's all I could do. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save her life.
I know anyone listening might think that you did the best that you could in that moment. And I can't imagine how the last 3 years have gone for you. And I know that you've been in touch with Anne Marie's family, and they appreciate her not being alone in those final moments. What's your relationship like with them, and do you keep in contact with them?
I do. We've become very close. They are a very large family, a very loving family, and they've welcomed me with open arms. I have to be honest to say that after the van attack, I had no idea what it would mean to a mother and a father to know that their daughter didn't lay dying on a sidewalk by herself. But they taught me what it meant. And I'm grateful that I was chosen to be there, to be with her in her final moments.
Rob, wishing you all of the best. We know that today, not just today, is a difficult day. This is something that you are going to carry with you forever, and we hope that you continue to heal. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.